Yes, we do have to get crime under control, but what's most important is we have to get the perception of crime under control. I didn't just start talking about crime when I decided I wanted to run for mayor. I've been talking about crime since I was sworn in as a parish commissioner. I live in a district where a couple years ago, I think 6 people were shot in one night in one location, which is unacceptable. I've been a proponent of doing the crime cameras and gunshot detection, 21st century technology. Some people say we need to go build and incur all of the debt to build police substations in every neighborhood. I do believe we have to have a more neighborhood approach to crime, because community-oriented policing has to be done outside of just when the cameras are rolling for the PR aspect of it. I would like to see us put our officers back in their neighborhoods, encourage them, not require a mandate, but encourage them, incentivize them to live in the neighborhoods that they patrol, so that they would, one, have the relationships, they're able to gather more intelligence. When they're knocking on someone's door or knocking on everyone's door, no one knows who's talking to the police officers. That gunshot detection system holds us accountable for making sure that we're adequately responding. Those crime cameras not only help us solve the crime that we're dealing with now, but it sends a message to potential criminals that if you do this, you will be caught and you will be prosecuted. And so when we talk to economic development professionals and companies who are looking to locate to Shreveport, we're articulating to them that crime is a priority. It's serious. Here's what we're doing. We have a chief that their sole priority, his or her sole priority, is to go out and tell folks that we're not going to take this, and we have to take back that narrative, because we can't wake up every day with nightly shootings and the message can't be, well, Chicago had 30 and we only had 5. That's not a good counter to that message. We have to get to the root causes of crime. I'd like to marry the mental health community with our policing strategy to get to some of the root causes of this. Some of this is substance abuse issues that we're seeing. Some of this is systemic poverty. And so all of these things work together, and we can't do it with these what I call one-off operations. We have to have a collaborative effort working with our sheriff department, working with our federal government, working with our state police, getting everybody on one page and sending a community message. As mayor, you have to get out, and sometimes you have to walk. People need to see their leader walking and saying, hey, I'm not going to ask you to come to a crime town hall. We're going to come to you and we're going to talk about what's happening, what's going on. And that is something that you do to take back the perception of crime and actually counter. I tell people, you live by the numbers, you die by the numbers.
Before I answer that question, and I always do this, I make sure I make the link between the crime problem we have and the economic problem that we have in our city. One of my favorite sayings is, nothing stops a bullet like a job. So that economic part is very critical to how we solve the crime part. But in solving the crime part, I've been extremely vocal since April was the first candidate to say that the police chief, we need a new police chief in the city. And I understand the rules of the Civil Service Board, but I believe every mayor should be able to elect a new police chief. And I say that because leadership makes or breaks organizations. I've seen it firsthand in the military. And right now there are a lot of things operationally and administratively that don't make sense. Operationally, the ratio of officers that actually patrol to the ones that don't is not right. We have way too many doing administrative things. Another thing that's operationally doesn't make sense is a majority of our police officers are patrolling during the day when we're at work and not at night when peak crime hours happen. So operationally, we need to fix those things. Administratively, a lot of the paperwork isn't being done proper, and we've seen that play out on a national scene a couple months ago when the police officer assaulted the boy on the porch. He was fired months before for abusing his wife and getting arrested for it, but because they didn't do the proper paperwork, he had to be reinstated by the Civil Service Board, and we just can't have those things happen. So I would start at the top with him. The second thing I would do is increase police presence in our neighborhoods. Most of the time when police are in our neighborhoods, what I often hear is that they're there for something negative, to arrest somebody, to respond to something negative, instead of them constantly being there and actually developing a relationship with their neighborhood, getting to know the grandmothers that sit on the porch and drink coffee, getting to know the little kids that's playing basketball in the street. There has to be trust between the citizens and the police department, and I think that's been eroded quite a bit, and we see that in the number of homicides last year that we've actually made arrests for. There was 57 homicides last year, and it's about 40 of them that remain unsolved today. So again, if you create that trust in the neighborhood, if you keep the presence there and people know that the police officers will actually be there, they know they have a close relationship with them, then I think you can do it. So twofold: new police chief, new leadership of the police department, and increased police presence in our neighborhoods.
Crime is a big issue, and that's a big focus of a lot of people. But the bottom line with crime is that most people, I won't say most people, but crime is caused by lack of economic opportunity. If there was economic opportunity, there would be less crime. Now how do we address that? We need to get rid of the perception. I think we need to have a more like a moral base initiative, if you will. A moral base in terms of the policemen, they can't just necessarily stop a crime if somebody has the desire to do it. But if there was, say, somewhat of more of a moral conscience, we might be able to do away with that or to help eliminate it. I'm trying to think about if we could, I don't know if I want to say get the religious community involved, or what I'm also thinking about, some of the problems that we may have may be due to the fact that what people are doing in terms of, I think a lot of the crime may be due to the music or things of that nature that people may be listening to. We have become desensitized. Food may be a problem, in terms of not having a proper diet, not understanding how food interacts with the person, how music, how the environment, things of this nature. But the core issue is, I think, lack of economic opportunity and people feeling hopeless. When you begin to feel hopeless, you don't necessarily, you're subject to have these reactions that are not favorable.
Great question. I think that's probably the first and foremost thing of everybody right now. The very first thing I would do is replace our police chief. Probably a great man. I've met him, nice guy. He's just in the wrong job. You could put me in a job. I'm a great person. You put me in a job of an accountant, I will fail. That's not my job. Put me in charge as a leader, I'm going to excel. We need to find someone who is extremely passionate. If you came into me and you're my assistant and you come in and you said, Leo, I have to tell you, there was another murder last night. It's going to hurt me here. It hurts me every time I hear it. One of the main reasons why I'm running for mayor, I'm tired of what's going on. But I need a police chief that's just as passionate as I am about our city, about what's going on right now, somebody that's going to let us be us. When I say that, I talk to people all the time and say, I'm moving to Bossier. And I'm like, Bossier's just, a mile from here away, 5 miles away or 10 miles away. Why do you want to just move over there? Well, the Bossier cops don't play. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, everybody knows that they're afraid to go there, that they know if they do anything wrong, that they're going to get in trouble. Well, we need that same reputation. I do not want to be on national news about somebody abusing somebody, doing things wrong. But what I do want to do is I want to let our police officers police. We have to make sure that we get prosecutions from the people that we are arresting. Deeper dive into that. We have over 500 officers right now, according to extremely good sources. At any given time, we have about 40 police officers on each shift protecting you and I. And you do the math. So, we don't have near the presence that we need. We must go out and we must get presence. How do you do that? You pull people from behind desks and you put them out there on the street. Oh, we don't have a car? Well, you're going to walk downtown. You know, how many times have you seen a police officer walk downtown? I don't think you have. You know, I don't care where it is, but we need to get more people. We don't have an auxiliary police force like we used to. Bossier does. You know, we need to get our auxiliary officers back into play. And once we get those auxiliary officers, you know, we're going to be able, if a car's back at headquarters not being utilized, we can put that person there and they can be on the street. We can utilize them for traffic accidents, for anything that's tying up our officers, and make sure that they're out there, again, protecting us. We must have presence.
I'm pretty passionate about this one. I'm the only candidate with any law enforcement experience. I have 30 years in law enforcement. I know the fundamentals of the police department. I know the good, I know the bad, I know what they can do and what they cannot do. Crime, or the perception of crime, must be addressed. If you look at statistics, and everybody knows that stats can say really pretty much anything you want. They can sing and dance, you know, in any given day. But it's the perception of crime that we deal with. And one of the things that drives the perception of crime up is the access to one of those phones that you have. And I say that not to skirt the issue. I say that because, you know, we're no longer get the news at night at 10 o'clock and then wait for 6 o'clock in the morning. Now we're part of the crime scene. So every time somebody gets in there, now they've become an expert. And now they kind of feed that and feed that and feed that. So the perception is that, why gosh, we're going to hell in a handbasket and crime is going through the roof. I'm not saying that violent crime is not something that we need to consider or actually develop things to do, but we need to actually focus on the crimes that we currently can develop a program for, develop a strategy for, whether it's the robberies, the burglaries, the auto thefts and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with reminding our citizens just to do the basic things: locking your cars, locking your buildings, be aware of your surroundings. The police department is a wonderful, excellent police department. I think leadership is key, just like any other department. I think you've heard it, take the handcuffs off the officers. You know, officers are there as public servants to do their job. They always have been. It's not about a lot of money, but it's about, doing a public service. But I think it is key that you have a leader, of the police department, fire department, any other department, that people are say, I'm willing to follow. Leadership is influencing people. That's all it is. And you must have a leader that is willing to influence the people that that leader serves. And once you have that, people will follow that leader. Now, you also have someone that says, I'm not afraid of asking for help. If there's a specific issue that we're dealing with crime, reference 1993, the Bottoms Boys and the Gang activity, which I was a part of. It was an all-out effort, to take care of business. But we couldn't do it by ourselves. We had to ask for help. So, I want to challenge people, like, asking for help is not a weakness. If so, we'd never tell our children to ask for help, because it's a sign of weakness. So it really is about synergy, working together, proven leadership, understanding exactly what it takes, for the leader of the police department to do an effective job and actually give them a leader that they will follow.
Okay, and I will answer that by saying we don't have those nightly. We don't have shootings and crimes nightly. Now, we do have crime in every city, probably on a daily basis. And some of those crimes are crimes where, we have domestic violence quite a bit. But we have been working with the federal officials, and we have some operations going now where our crime has been trending down. The first 6 months of 2017, our crime rate was at a certain level. Now it's down about 9%. In fact, about 5-6 weeks ago, a new U.S. attorney had come in, and he'd been with us a few months and did a lot of assessments of what was happening in Louisiana. And of course, he discovered that our crime was trending. So we did a press conference, and I don't know if you saw that. And so what we had been saying to people, they didn't believe, but I think now that they do believe that the crime is trending. But we have some of our own operations in place. We've begun a new one called Operation Stop, where we go into every community now every week, and we speak directly with the community. Our chief and his staff are trying to get people to be more vocal. They don't have to give their names. We have a place that they can go and do that. But we have to stand up as a community because we don't know when something is going to happen. In fact, we're going to be working on a lot of areas. Even our suicide rate that most people don't know about is probably higher than our homicide rate. But we have a lot of issues where we have domestic violence. We have people who have relationship problems. And we can't police when somebody in a house is shooting, but we can try to get people to talk to us. So we have taken a different approach. The project Safe Neighborhood Project is one that we're doing with the U.S. Department of Justice, along with state police, along with the sheriff department, along with the marshals. We're all working together on the crime. And I would disagree that business is not coming to Shreveport because I have the list of businesses that we've recruited, and they're in Shreveport. So I would say that we're going to continue to work until we get the crime down. Crime spikes up and down in this city like it does in most urban cities across America. In the 90s, crime was probably among the highest it's ever been. It spiked up and it spiked down. It just happened, it had spiked up recently. But we got businesses coming in, and we have visitors, 1 million visitors come into our city every year, and they have not stopped coming. But we're going to get the crime down. We've got a plan in place, and we're going to work the plan.